All right. Excited today to be talking with a friend from way down under, across the world, the bottom of Australia, the general manager of the Modern Hunter, Jame Bath. Welcome to the Tricer podcast, man.
Cheers, Drew. Thanks for having me on.
James reached out to us because we work with Maven Optics a lot over here, and there's a lot of our tripods, and a lot of our customers are using Maven. And James is the Maven rep for Australia, correct? And New Zealand?
Yeah. So we're the sort of distributors, I guess you could say, yeah.
Okay. And then you had hit us up like, hey, we'd love your stuff. We'd love to sell your stuff. And for me, it made my life a lot easier because now I can just be like, hey, go to James. And I send people to you probably pretty often. Like, it goes to Modern Hunter because they have it down there. You can get it from them. And I don't have to deal with shipping it over there and customs and the whole nine. So you guys are selling our stuff. And when we were talking off air, I was telling you that, man, like, I feel like you guys down there, the guys in New Zealand and Australia, they love gear like just as much as us guys in the States. And you guys are super into it. They love their gear and they've just been a big Tricer. They love Tricer. So it's been really neat and to be working with you guys.
Yeah, I guess we're so spoiled for hunting over here. So I guess that's why a lot of guys are gear mad, because we've got so many different species and terrains you can hunt. So you're always like trying to fine tune your gear, working out what works in one area, what works in another area. And like I said, because we can hunt so many animals any day of the year, it gives us a lot to focus on and always trying to fine tune.
Man, I am so excited to hear about that because in my mind, I'm like, oh, they have kangaroos. And I've seen some water buffalo and I think some like red stag. So
yeah.
Wait, are you telling me that you guys can hunt year round?
Yeah, every state in Australia has different rules, but majority you can hunt year round, pretty much any animal. You can't hunt kangaroos. They do get like culled on private properties and places like that, but with like by permit, because some properties are overrun. You can have like thousands and thousands of kangaroos. So, but yeah, our like all the deer species, pigs, buffalo, you can, if you've got access, if someone on private property, obviously you go through the property owner, but anything else with this state forest, specifically here in Victoria, state forest and national park, you can just grab your car and grab your rifle or bow and just get into it.
Really? And you don't have to have a tag?
We have a general permit. So like, I'll speak, I guess, for Victoria, so to say, like we get like a deer stalking permit, which you just literally just like ring up, say, yeah, I want to buy a stalking permit that's valid for 12 months. And then you can just go off and hunt deer, like in any of the state forests. The national parks are open for stalking only, whereas the state forests, you can do like hound hunting within season and stuff like that. But yeah, you can pretty much just hunt whatever you want, whenever you want.
You can hunt in the national parks?
Correct.
With a rifle?
Yeah, rifle or bow. Not all of them, but most of them. And they do have a short closed window. And that's generally just because they're more populated with a lot of like hikers and stuff like that. So they close it off from time to time, but it's pretty much most of the year round anyway.
How much public land, I call it public land, I guess you would call it public land. How much public land do you guys have? Is it just like the Mecca?
There's so much. There's, I'd say, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of acres. Once again, I can speak more Victoria, where I'm from, we're probably a bit more spoiled for that. Pretty much all of our state forest is available to anyone that wants to get a game license. Once again, you just pay for your license. The birds, like quail and duck, there are strict seasons on those. But as far as, like I was saying, deer, pigs, and all that sort of stuff, you just, once you've got your game permit, you just go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, is that because they're invasive? They're not invasive. Are the deer invasive?
The deer are invasive. They're introduced. So
are they deer or are they red stags?
We have 6 deer species here. So
really?
So we'll have Samba deer, which are my favourite. They came in from India, I believe. They were like in the mid 1800s or something like that. So we have Samba deer, Rusa, which they're similarly from the same sort of family. Really big bodied, like the males get up to about 300 kilo, like for a big stag. So what's that, like 600 pounds or something like that over there. Then we got like the red fallow deer.
Okay, yeah, fallows. Okay, we have some of those here.
Yep, so fallow. But we got like different areas of Australia. They were released, I think they were brought over for like private reserves and things like that. So there's a couple of different genetics from different areas of Europe. So you get some. I think New South Wales have a bit of a different genetic strain in their fallow compared to what we have in Victoria. And then we have the hog deer and the chital deer. So I think they're like from the Axis deer family, I believe.
Dude, I have a grin. I don't know if you'd see it from like ear to ear right now, just talking to you about this, because I'm just like, man, how do I get over there and hang out with you?
You can
So
literally just get a plane ticket, man, and
I'm
come
gonna have
over.
to get a plane ticket and fly over. I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this sounds this awesome. So now, per capita, how many of you guys hunt? I mean, is there a lot of people hunting or no? Or
Yeah,
is it just
heaps.
these people hunting? Okay, so everyone
Yeah,
hunts. Okay,
yeah.
all right. Now, you guys, I don't know what's going on with you guys and your guns and everything, but are you allowed to have guns anymore? Are they banned? What's going on?
Yeah, we are. We are once again. Every state is a bit different. We obviously have much, much tighter gun laws than you guys do over there. But yeah, no, we can, like, once again, I'll speak to mainly where I'm from in the state of Victoria. I've got different 30 cals, 300 Win Mags, 308s, and all that sort of stuff. You put in for a licensing thing. You just say this is what I intend to use it for, and then they give you an application, You fill all that out, and yeah, so you can have guns, but we're limited to like bolt actions.
Okay,
You can get some of that sort of fancy stuff that you guys have over there, but you have to have a high category license, and to get those licenses, you generally have to be like an accredited color or do government control programs and things like that. But for the general public, we're limited to like bolt action rifles, lever action rifles, things like that.
and then shotguns, obviously.
Yeah, shotguns as well. Yeah, but once again,
Pump action. Really, can you have semi-auto
you can have pump action rifles.
shotguns? Can you have semi-auto shotguns like a Benelli or no?
Yeah, I'm not really a shotgun shooter, so there's a couple, quirks with the legislations of that. I know there was I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was like a self-loading shotgun that was technically like a pump action, but it wasn't. And there was a bit of a kick up about that when that got introduced to the Australian shores a couple of years ago. And I know they're trying to fine tune the licensing to keep up with that.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I mean, I would be now. What about handguns? Can you guys have revolvers or no handguns at all?
I think that's if you're obviously in like law enforcement and things like that. We do have like a lot of pistol clubs, like handgun clubs and things like that. But as far as like hunting with them or anything like that, there's none of that. Or like general
Gotcha.
carrying and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you don't own any handguns,
Nope.
just bolt actions. And
Yep.
you, which I'd be fine with. I'm fine with having a bolt action rifle. I have semi-autos and I don't really shoot them. I'm a very fuddy guy. I like revolvers and I like bolt action rifles. So I wouldn't be, obviously I love having my rights to have all the guns I want, but,
Yep.
but at the same time, I thought you getting a gun was like impossible. It sounds like as long as you're hunting with a hunting rifle, it's not super hard. And you guys can you can get chassis guns and the whole nine, right? I see a lot of you guys are really into chassis guns over, especially in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. Especially it's bigger for I guess you'd say like the long range community. Guys want to do like long range builds and stuff like that. But it's also getting pretty big in like what we call like a pest control. So guys that do a lot of like pig shooting and things like that might be wanting to use like thermals on like private properties and stuff. A lot of them might use like chassis rifles because they'll have those in gun clamps and things like that because they're shooting at night and trying to shoot a lot of animals at once as well. So they need a pretty stable platform.
Gotcha. And you were spouting off just some normal calibers. So are you guys just mostly shooting the fuddy 30-06, 308, 30 Win Mag calibers? You guys all into the PRCs over there now, like everybody else, and the Creedmoors and the whole.
That's a big, that's a deep hole to jump into. Where, once again, in Victoria, where I'm from, we have caliber restrictions on certain animals. Let's say, for instance, like a sambar deer, because they're a quite big deer. They have a minimum requirement, they say this, for a caliber, and that's like a 270. You can't use anything smaller than that.
It's like a 270 Winchester rim mag. Anything bigger than that, you're able to hunt with. Not a 6.5 Creedmoor, not a 243.
No,
250 Roberts.
They reckon the projectile and all the ballistic coefficients and stuff aren't effective on such a large body animal. But once again, that could be up for discussion. But that's just what the state says where I'm from. Everyone sort of abides by that. That is in all the state forests and stuff. But then you move, say, the next state up from me, which is New South Wales, and they don't have the same caliber requirements. So it's, you don't know, like where you're hunting and what rifle to use.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would not be opposed to them putting a limit like that on elk and not letting people shoot 6.5s. I've seen some. I saw a video this year of an elk getting shot 8 times with a 6.5 PRC with a very popular hunting bullet that is made for going long range and hitting the boiler room every single time before it died. It just would not die. And the
At what
video doesn't
distance?
lie.
What distance
Like
was that
500
at?
yards. 500
Yeah. Okay.
yards. Not,
Yep.
not crazy. I think it was like 550. It wasn't, for all intents and purposes, everyone's shooting these guns. They had 6.5 PRCs, 800-yard rifle, whatever. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 30 calibers and this some millimeters on elk size game. I'm
So
actually
you have no restrictions on that whatsoever.
no, not on caliber. I know that with like in Colorado, there's a limit on muzzleloader. You have to have a 50 caliber for muzzleloader. You can't use a 40 caliber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to my knowledge, there's not a caliber restriction on elk
Right.
anywhere.
So it's just pretty much
Someone's
up
probably
to
going
the
to write in and
discretion.
say I'm wrong, but it's up to your discretion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I killed an elk with a 260. It's just not the right caliber for it, which is essentially a 6.5 Creedmoor 260 Remington, and it's just not. It died, and I killed it. I shot him 4 times really good, and he died. But it was all of them were kill shots. It's just something about displacement and that horsepower being hit by a bigger bullet, just the energy.
Yeah.
There's this weird push right now. I was looking at tie-in. I've talked on a couple of podcasts about this now, but I'll keep going on it because I'm into it. There's this weird push with ballistics and bullets, and they say it'll perform to 1,800 feet per second. So people have thrown kinetic energy out the window. And for me, I want to look at energy and be like, I want 1,500 pounds for an elk.
Yep.
Right? I don't want to be like, okay, it's going 1,800 feet per second and it's got 900 pounds of energy, but it'll still expand. Like, I want to have 1,500 pounds of energy for an elk and 1,000 pounds of energy for a deer. And that's where I want to be.
Yep.
But I also want to limit my shots to under 500 yards. Ideally 300. So with that whole, like, talk about the fuddy calibers, like, you didn't spout off that you're using a PR6 or PRC or any of these crazy calibers. There's this weird, like, everyone's a long range shooter now. And I had some bad experiences this year, not with myself shooting, but with other people shooting over us and going back to the truck and reloading and shooting like 15 rounds at elk and it's missing. And you know, the guy's probably I don't want to knock Horner. The guy's probably got 300 PRC or some whacked out gun that he thought was, 30 nozzle or whatever, 6.5 PRC. And this is a 1,000-yard gun. I'll watch what I can do, and just shooting. And I've talked to some of the guys at Browning, and I'm getting an X-Bolt, a wood-stocked 30-06 X-Bolt. Mm-hmm. Picked up a nice Leopold VX5 and put it on there, and I am going to kill every animal I kill this year with a factory 30-06.
Yep. The 30-06, man, it's been around for forever. It's tried and true. It's a super popular caliber over here too, because it'll knock down any critter you pointed at. And like you're saying, like you can do that. 30-06, 308. You like once you're proficient in that, but you know your projectiles, there's nothing stopping you from dropping everything up to 400, 500 meters with that caliber.
Yeah, my kid shot an elk this year at 320 yards with a 308, 168 grain TTSX copper bullet, and just dumped her in her tracks right there where she stood. It's just it's like I said, as long as you stay within that horsepower range I was talking about, the 1,500 feet, you're solid. And when you're running a heavier, bigger bullet like that, you're going to get less wind drift, and it's going to do more damage when it gets there. So I don't know what I'm going to do on the bullet yet. I was kicking around going like factory. I hand load, so I really love hand loading. I was kicking around as going like factory Hornady ammunition or factory Barnes ammunition, like a 175 grain ELDX or a
the ELDX. I love the ELDX. The in like 30-06 and 300 mm mag. Oh, that thing is just unbelievable.
The one like the 178, or what are you really hand loading it?
No, so I was just running all factory. I don't have.
Now, I think it's a 178, right? 178 ELDX for the 30-06.
Yep.
Yeah, it has the horsepower, and really that modern bullet in that gun makes that gun a proficient like 600-yard rifle. Like with the horsepower getting there, you don't need something with some big crazy whiz bang cartridge when you got that thing in the modern bullets. It's just, it really does the trick. I'm thinking I'm probably going to look. Where I live in California, you have to use mono bullets. Do you guys use mono metal bullets over there at all? Or do you ever used them?
No, we don't. There's a bit of talk at the moment around like the whole copper versus lead going around. Like you've got your bonded lead and stuff, which majority of people use, and then you've got like the people that are switching to solid copper. There's a bit of talk around at the moment if there's ever going to be a ban on lead
Mhm.
bonded bullets, just for the sheer fact of waterways and meat consumption and all the rest of it. But I think at the moment that's just talk. But there are some guys that love shooting those solid copper projectiles because I understand you can shoot them a bit lighter, but they carry a bit more energy. But yeah, at
Yeah,
the moment it's just a bit of a mixed bag.
it's weird. I would say you're going to get way more BCs out of a lead bullet because you're going to get a longer bullet out of it because it weighs more. So
Okay.
with copper, like 168 grain bullet's going to be really long, so you can't really get the weight there. So if you
Yep.
try to go 175 grain copper bullet, that thing's going to be super long. Like I love, like we have the hammer bullets. If you don't, have you heard of hammer? And they're a really cool bullet. They're like a boutique bullet maker up in Montana. I think it's Montana or Wyoming. I think it's Montana. And man, it's just a really good shooting bullet. And I probably killed, I don't know, 10 animals with them this year with that
Mm-hmm.
bullet. But I really like the Barnes bullets, the copper bullets. The 168 grain TTSX is one of my favorites. I was actually going to put that into that 30-06, or like the 175 grain LRX bullets, long range copper bullet.
Okay.
Um, I'm a guy that I would rather use a heavy bullet and go slow
Mm-hmm.
than use a light bullet and go really fast. And like I
Yeah.
have a,
Yeah.
that's my thing. Do you handle? You said you didn't handle it.
No,
The guy
it's
have,
it's something that
yeah,
I've wanted to do, but I've just got that many hobbies and projects at the moment. I don't have the time to jump down the thing. And once like those ELGXs, ever since I switched to those, they just perform on everything. So I'm just
they
like
just
I just
work.
bought a
Why?
whole bunch of those. It's like yeah, why change it?
Yeah, they work and they're awesome. I just the hand loading is just fun. There's something about the process of load and like you load the bullet, you put the rifle together, you kill it with the bullet you shot. Then I like to pack the animal out myself. I process the animal myself in my house. Like something about the whole. It just like ties the whole thing in together for me. I don't know. I like hand
Oh
loading.
man,
It's fun.
no, I fully understand. Like I make my own hunting knives, so a little
Do
side.
you?
Yeah, so I make all my own hunting knives and stuff. So I've got a little small business as well, but once again, just limited to time. So I only do those to order. Like I butcher the deer with my own knives, pack it out myself. The same as you. It's a complete process. I'd love to have that element of the hand loads into it. I just don't have the time to commit to that at the
It's
moment.
expensive to get in to get set up, right? Even with the new caliber, right? So I just got a new concealed carry pistol, a 38 special revolver, and I've already owned a few 38 specials and 37s. I just never had the dice for it. I never bought reloaded for it, so I'm going to reload for it. I ended up spending $500 just buying brass and bullets and dies and the whole. And it's man, I could have bought a lot of 38 special reloaded
Yeah,
cartridges for this. I don't know how. I know a little 5-shot revolver. I'd probably never shoot all. I don't know what I was thinking, but it does get expensive to get in there and do it, especially to do it right. To use the nice, like you learn, it's like one of those crap in, crap out things. Like I like to use high quality bullets. I like to use nice powders, nice
yeah,
brass, like Lapua brass. And you load with nice stuff, you end up with a high quality product. When you load with crappy brass or soft brass, you start blowing primers,
yeah.
pressure signs. It's just not as good.
Yeah. No, I get it. But once again, yeah, it's an expensive hobby, but if you love doing it, it's a good place to invest your money in because you're getting the joy out of it. You're going out in the bush or doing what you do, and you're enjoying every step of the way. So might as well.
Yeah, and it's cathartic. Like when you shoot your bow, do you shoot? I don't know if you archery hunt at all, but shooting your
Yeah,
bow is
yeah,
like very, I don't want to say like meditative. I don't want to get too new age on you, but something nice about shooting your bow and reloading's the same way for me. I can sit there and reload and just sitting there and listening to a book or listening to some music and just reloading by myself, and it's just enjoyable. So I like it. Something about
yeah.
it.
Cool.
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's also
cool.
that aspect that you could blow yourself up if you didn't do it right. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing I was stressed about. I'm like, when I go out in the bush, all I want to think about is when I lift my gun, I pull the trigger, I've got someone else to blame if it doesn't go off.
Yeah, I've never had an issue like that. Like I said, I'm not a super fast guy. Like I have friends who are like, I want to put a. Hopefully he listens to this, so I'll make fun of him. I don't care. I want to put a 130 grain copper bullet into my 300 Win Mag and push the thing 3,800 feet per second. And I'm like, man, I would much rather put a 215 grain bullet in a 300 Win Mag and push it at 2,900 feet per second. Just go slow and just get it down there. But
Yeah,
people like to go fast. It's fun. People like horsepower, man. Look at Roy Weatherby. I mean, he built a whole company on freaking going fast and making flat shooting bullets and doing that.
yeah. There's that two different schools of thought. I'm sure you guys are probably the same. There, like we've got the guys that it's like speed kills, so they want to
Yes.
go light and fast. I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
like yourself. I'd prefer to have a 210 grain projectile out of my 300 Win Mag that just hits like a truck.
Yeah.
as opposed to a guy running a 160 grain out of the 300 Win Mag that's just going like lightning. I know they
Yeah.
both do the job, but once again, I guess it's the school of thought you're raised on.
Yeah, and I guess when you're shooting a deer, it really doesn't matter. Like you're shooting a deer, doesn't matter. When you start shooting a water buffalo, like you guys have water buffalo, right?
Yeah, we do.
I
Yeah,
would
those.
much rather be putting a. That's where you'd probably really enjoy those monomellow bullets is on the water buffalo and stuff like that. With the they penetrate really well and they stay together. So like a Barnes bullet's going to stay like 90 something percent together
Mhm.
when it goes into animals. You're going to get it's going to punch all the way through and they
Yep.
open up wicked, and that would be a really good buffalo bullet. So
Yeah,
something to
I've
check
heard of
out.
guys with those buffaloes. I've heard of guys shooting them with 338, like a 338 lap or 338 edge, like those big calibers running like 300 grain projectiles, and
Yeah.
they'll shoot a buffalo front on, like in the front shoulder, to put it right in the boiler room, and the thing's front legs will go out of them. And then they said they just watch them just pick themselves back up on their front legs, shake off the dust, and just start running.
Yeah, I shot down in Sonora, Mexico this year. I shot my deer head on like that. It came in, and as soon as he came in, I just shot him, put it
Mhm.
right through the chest, and that thing it did so much damage because we were only 60 yards away, and I was shooting a 260, essentially a Creedmoor. So it hit that thing going like 2,800 feet per second when it hit the deer, and
Yeah,
it left shockwaves like under the. I never seen it before. Underneath the hide, all the way down, there was like I don't know. It was like you could see blood, like blood vessels broken all the way down the deer. I don't know how to describe it. And that
yeah,
bullet went all the way through that deer, took out heart, lungs, out the butt. I mean,
yeah,
it would end to end. Didn't I thought for sure I was going to find it, and it just that deer did not like it. It was dead. It was
yeah,
dead. It ran
yeah.
like 30 feet. It was dead on its feet and just piled up right in front. I think you probably saw the video. Yeah.
Yeah, if they run towards you, that's even better, isn't it?
Yeah, did you saw the video of him shooting him going right
Yeah,
to me?
yeah.
He ran into my lap. It was funny. So, with all that hunting, are you even buying meat or are you just killing everything?
I try to eat mainly venison. We try to do it as much as possible. I'll still buy. I like doing like a smoked brisket and things like that. I might buy like a beef brisket from time to time, and buy a
Mm-hmm.
couple of beef steaks from time to time. But majority of the meat we eat in our household is venison. I got a few mates that are really like mad fishermen. We live on the coast where we are, so they'll go out and I'll trade off some venison and they'll give us some fish and stuff as well. So that include that in our diet too.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny because my kids pretty much only get game. It's like when they get beef, it's like a treat almost. What is this? This is incredible. It has the fat in it. It's just so good.
Yeah,
It really is. I don't know. People can say they like elk more. There's nothing better than a ribeye or
yeah,
a T-bone steak with all that fat in there. It's just
that
good.
nice amount of fat. Yeah, that's one thing you do miss. Like all the deer species we have here, everything's just so lean. So there's
Very
just
lean,
like
yeah.
there's just no fat in anything. So yeah, including that's why I guess I like the brisket. It's a big fatty slab of meat. So one of those every week or second week, I get my all my calories from that.
So now what about can you hunt crocodiles?
They can be shot under permit if
Okay.
they. Yeah, it's. I'm probably not as educated in that, but I don't think
So
don't
you
get.
haven't killed a croc. You
No,
haven't done it. Okay.
no,
Not on your
no.
things, not on your things to do list. Now what about like venomous snakes? You run into those things all the time out there? Okay.
The snakes pretty much year round. They do hibernate in winter when it gets cold, but they're still out. Like they won't go into full like true hibernation. It's just you just very rarely see them because they're just so slow and they just don't really want to move much. So most of the hunting during winter, you're pretty good to go. But I've still stumbled across the odd lugger snake or brown snake in the middle of winter that's decided to get itself out on a little rock, soak up some sun. So yeah,
And
I won't go into the bush without snake proof like gaiters covered from your boot up to the bottom of your knee because yeah, snakes a lot.
really. And
Yeah,
you guys got like big old lizards. Like this sounds terrible. You probably don't like this, but like a lot of our like experience with Australia is Steve Irwin. That's like what we got was like, this is
yeah,
Australia. So I was infatuated with that guy and infatuated with that show as a kid. I love the outdoors.
yeah,
And I just think it's so neat. You have the big lizards too, right? You got all kinds of critters running down there. It's like prehistoric.
yeah. So you it also depends on what side of some of the dividing ranges you're on. So once again, in Victoria, where I'm from, we've got this thing called the Great Dividing Range. Cuts right up along the east coast, and on one side of that, you'll still get a lot of those big like lace monitors and goannas in the bush. But then on the other side of it, you don't really get them as much. They like to stay coastal. But yeah, so it's a bit of a trip out because you might get some deer hunters that have only hunted one side of the range a lot of the time, and you go to the next side. It's like you're hunting in a different country. Like the sand's really soily and stuff, and yeah, you get these like huge lizards that'll you'll walk past a tree, and next thing you look, and there's just this like 5 foot lizard just attached to the tree with these like knives for fingers, and it's a bit of a spin out when you're not used to it. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You are a backpack hunter as well, correct?
Yeah, I do a bit. There's some guys down here that do a lot more, but yeah, I do enjoy it, just getting into those sort of more remote locations.
And a lot of your stuff, because you guys are, like I said, you guys are really into tripods and glassing. A
Yeah.
lot of your area hunting is glassable, that I take it.
Yeah, so when you're backpacking, a lot of the time, if we're backpacking in, you'd want to be going in what we call the tops, which is like our alpine regions, because you
Okay.
get above the tree lines. So once you're up above those tree lines, you're exposed to just endless, as far as the eye can see, is just mountain ranges. You'll generally pack in 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, and you can just sit up on like these big, I guess you call them like rocky bluff sections, and you've got to be glassing big bowls. So you might be looking like
You know,
1.5,
basins. Yeah.
yeah, like a big basin, and you're just glassing all those animals that are going to come up from the tree line, and they're going to feed up into these alpine meadows and chase all the really high feed like grasses and things that are available to them up on the tops.
And what kind of predators do you guys have? Just hyenas, or you have hyenas, right?
No,
No,
so
jackals. What do you have?
no, we don't really have
Dingoes.
anything. So the dingoes, we've got the alpine dingo. Once you
Yeah.
speak more in Victoria, the dingo is spread up through Australia, but they're much more of a sort of a pack animal, and they'll tend to sort of go for lower mammals, like smaller mammals and things. They wouldn't really want to take on the bigger deer and stuff, which is why their population's gotten so big since they're introduced. But we do have quite a bad problem with feral dogs, like wild dogs, and they're just dogs that have gotten out, like hunting dogs, farm dogs,
Mhm.
things that have gotten out over the years. And sometimes they crossbreed with the dingoes and stuff, but they'll get into big packs and they do a lot of damage. There's a lot of guys down here now that are getting trail cam footage or even seeing it in real life. Like you might see a deer just go running, and then all of a sudden you see another deer running. You're like, oh, that's a bit odd. And then you'll see a couple of dogs hot on their tail.
And those are those free game to pop and keep off the deer, or no?
Yeah, so you can shoot wild dogs. There's actually a bounty on them once in, depending where you live. So usually,
I would think.
I think you get about $110 if you're taking a scalp and tail of the wild dog.
Really?
Yeah. So there's some guys that
Wow.
make a living off doing it. They go around and do all the farms and stuff like that. Like they can go out and shoot 10, 15 dogs in a night sometimes.
Now, I don't know why I thought that kangaroo hunting was more prolific. Maybe because people are just doing it on private ranches. Because I know that they're giving it to schools. It's they just, from what I understand.
Yeah, it
Are
did.
you a cotton king? Go ahead.
No, it's the reason why you would have seen all the meat is because it's a permitted system as well. So we have accredited meat harvesters, and one of their big thing is kangaroo, and they'll usually do wild boar pigs as well. So once again, you have like licenses and you're fully accredited, and your truck's got stainless steel backs, and you're an accredited like food handling vehicle type thing. And they'll go out to these private properties that are tens of thousands of acres, and yeah, they'll harvest like tons and tons of kangaroos.
Now, have you ever done that or no?
Yeah, I did back in the early days. We used to do a bit with the pigs, so you can go help out some of these guys. They just need hands. So back in the days when we were young, like 18, early 20s, the guys run these operations. So you go out and catching the pigs and stuff like that, which then they sell to what we call like the chillers. And then they'll also be doing the kangaroos as well. So they're late nights and just lifting a lot of carcasses and stuff like that. So it's tiring work.
Do you like the taste of kangaroo? Like, how does it taste compared to venison? Is it close to venison? What's it taste like?
I would choose venison any day of the week.
I'd imagine it has to be tough. I mean, they freaking jump around, and it has
Yeah,
to be
it's a
super lean
tough.
and tough.
It's tough. There apparently some guys that really know how to cook it. I probably don't know how to cook it. So yeah,
I would crock pot the snot out of it. Just put it
yeah.
in a pressure cooker.
I think I tried doing like some little steaks, like little sizzle steaks with just some red wine and garlic and stuff. And you cook it really hot. Look, it's okay, but I'd prefer to eat venison. Yeah, guys do sausage, making like kangaroo sausage.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they'll do that.
grind it.
Yeah, grind it down, get some fat in there, and apparently that's pretty good.
Yeah, grind it and throw about 20% fat in that thing and call it a day. Make
Yeah,
some sausage.
yeah,
So you're killing a lot of stuff. Are you processing all your own game, like grinding it, do the whole thing, or bringing it in?
yeah, yeah. So I do that. So at home, I've got like a really big industrial like chopping board thing. So whenever I get a deer, I'll bring it back, and I generally hang it in my fridge for a couple of weeks, and then I'll just get it out and break it all down, break it into all my different cuts, and then cry back it all and stock the freezer.
So are there like antler restrictions or doe restrictions, or are you just wide open, whatever you want to kill?
Whatever you want to go.
Mm.
Yeah.
So are you guys self-policing yourself and trying not to kill the does, or?
No, no, not really. So we generally have a bigger population. Obviously, there'll be more like we call them like hinds, depending what deer species. But say the sambar, for instance, the hinds generally can eat a bit better, taste a bit better. But then again, I've shot stags that some people think, oh, you never eat stag, the meat smells and whatever, the meat's too tough. But I've shot some stags and they've been the best eating animals I've ever had. So I think it all comes down to how it's handled. But no, not a lot of the guys. It's just it comes down to like body size nearly. If I'm going out looking specifically for a meat animal, I probably want to look for anything that's in that sort of 2 year range because I know it's going to be big, but it's not going to be that big where I'm not going to have to leave any meat behind. So like I can shoot a 2 year old sambar deer, and it's going to provide me with heaps of meat, but I'll be able to carry the whole thing out myself within maybe 2 trips.
Gotcha. And aren't you guys big on like head shooting too? No,
I'm like, no, I don't really. Anyone I know, no one really goes for
really.
headshots. Yeah, no,
So
no way.
you're just behind the shoulder, just like we would do it here, behind the shoulder, put it in there, and try not to ruin meat.
That's right. Yeah, on the culling side, like what we were touching on, like with the kangaroos and stuff like that, you'll head shoot those. So a lot of guys use a two.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah, so like that, but that's where you're like your 223, 243, those sort of calibers, those flat shooting varmint
Mhm.
calibers, and they're cheaper to run as well. That's what a
Yeah,
lot of the varmint shooters are using, and with kangaroos, it's all headshots.
I think the 243 is my favorite cartridge.
But it's such a
I
great
go
thing,
back and
man.
forth. I think it's my favorite cartridge. We have three of them. My kids have them. They're just fun. I love shooting predators and deer, everything. They're just fun. Tell me about the buffalo. Are you killing buffalo?
I've never done it. I've got a couple of mates that have gone and done it.
They're not in Victoria then.
I know they're up north. They're
Oh,
in the Northern Territory. They're up in the very top end of Australia.
oh,
Yeah, that's pretty wild country up there. That's where you got crocs in any body of water up there. There's probably going to be a crocodile. Any part of the coast, if you go to dip your toe in the ocean, you're probably going to get bitten by a shark or stung by some sort of jellyfish or something like that. And then when you get back to your swag at night, you're probably going to have a venomous snake or a spider in there that'll kill you. There's a lot of animals up there that want to put an end to your life. Yeah,
you have me so. I used to think I wanted to go to New Zealand. You have me so excited to go to Australia. Like I hear that stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I want to go to the north
yeah.
coast of Australia.
It's
Like,
it's
so you
it's
don't want to shoot a
crazy.
buffalo. I never even thought about that. So, like, we'll kill animals on water and then we'll go clean the animal. Like, you don't want to shoot a buffalo right next to a water hole
No,
because then you're going to get eaten by a croc.
that's right. Yep. Yeah,
Oh, that's bitching.
you don't want to have your
It's so
camps.
cool.
Yeah, you don't want to have your camp set up near any body of water as well because the crocodiles, they say they learn to pattern people. So if you've got camp set up and you're going down to get water from the same spot 2 days in a row, if you're in an area with crocodiles, a crocodile's probably worked out that you're going to that spot. So on the third night, there's probably going to be a crocodile there.
Oh man, yeah, and they do. They eat people, right? That's a thing that happens over there.
Yeah, it's probably not as it probably doesn't happen as much as what people might tell over there. There might be a few tall stories getting told, but it does happen. Yeah, it does happen a lot more with a lot of people lose dogs and stock and things like that on these huge properties, like these big cattle properties and stuff like that. You might get a resident crocodile that sits in there and just like, knocks off cattle just whenever it wants, whenever they come down to the water, sort of thing.
Gotcha. All right. Well, tell me about New Zealand because you went over there and did that too, right? You jumped over a couple years ago and did your first trip.
Yeah, that's right. Me and a couple mates, we've been wanting to get over there for a while. I've been over there just as a tourist and looked around. It's just such an amazing country, and we'd always want to go over and hunt tahr because they have quite a good tahr population over there. I'm sure
I
about
want to hunt tar bad.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I can't recommend it enough. It's such an amazing, amazing animal to hunt. Yeah, we started putting this trip together. There was me and three of my mates, and we were in contact with a guy from New Zealand. We went to the South Island, so we were trying to chat to a couple of locals down there and just get a bit of a heads up because we wanted to do it self-guided. So yeah, we just did a bit of information, put all the planning in place, and realistically, all we have to do, it's pretty easy for us. We didn't take our own guns because a friend of ours has a business contact in New Zealand, so he was able to provide us. They can lend us a gun if we fill out permits and things like that. So you fill out like a temporary New Zealand gun license, pretty much, and then we get like a permit for the animal as well. And you have to list like areas where you want to hunt in New Zealand and with the time frame that we're going to be there. So it's actually pretty easy. And yeah, so we went over. I think it was November, so it was around that springtime because they start getting the snow melt and the tahr. They start moving around these top tussock areas. So we planned our trip around that. And yeah, so we flew in to the South Island. We had to go pick up the guns, get all like acquainted with the area, and go speak to our contact over there and spend a couple of days just picking his brain about what these animals do. And then yeah, we went and met our contact who is a chopper pilot. And yeah, obviously we went and you stock up for a couple of days, and they always say you have to take a couple extra days food as well because with the if you're getting helicoptered into these big mountainous areas, there's only one way to get out, and that's by helicopter. Because if you were to try to walk yourself out, you're probably not going to make it unless you go full Steve Irwin style and try to live off the land sort of thing. But we were a bit out of our depth over there. But yeah, so we got choppered in, a couple of extra bits of food, and then the chopper pilot just literally just dumped us on top of a mountain, and he just, I'll see you in 5 days, and just took off. That was a bit of an eye opener. But yeah, it's just such an amazing country. Like you're up there above the clouds, so like you're just sitting on these mountaintop, and in the afternoons you just see the clouds rolling. You just see like tops of mountains sticking up all over the joint. And we were lucky enough that where we were setting up camp, we spotted a lone tahr standing up on this bluff that was about sort of 2 kilometres away from our camp. So we knew there were some animals getting around, which gave us a bit of hope. And yeah, and then we just had to make plans of how we're going to hunt the areas from there between the four of us. But it's really hard, and that's where they're glassing. Like we took over all the big spotting scopes and all these different power binoculars and stuff like that because to get from one mountain peak to the other, it might be k's and k's. It could be a day of walking. We had to become very reliant on the glass, and I guess that's where having really good glass came into it because you might see some tahr and you think, oh, they've all got antlers, but it's a bunch of nannies. It's a bunch of the females. So having the big spotter and stuff like that, you sort of see them. You can see the shape of their body and shape of their head. And you're like, oh no, there's some bull tahrs in that mix, and then that way you can try to go after those. But because we were all trying to do it ourselves, we tried to apply like how we'd hunt deer species over here, but it's a different sort of strategy over there. And it took us a couple of days, but we started encountering the animals, but the first we'd only see glimpses of them in the distance, and we could never really get onto them because they actually got really good eyesight, and they'll hang in the craziest places, man. Like you might be glassing and you look and you're seeing a complete vertical drop, and then all of a sudden you stare and stare and stare at this drop, and you realise that there's just like a tahr. They're just like sitting. Like I've got a photo of this one tahr, and there was a bunch of tussock like just growing off the side of a rock, and it was laying on it with its guts on the tussock, and its legs were just dangling underneath it. And it was just a sheer drop below it. And they'll just be comfortable just hanging out there, having a nap and just soaking up some sun. That was a wild experience.
And you end up getting a tahr?
Yeah, we did. I think that was on our third day. I was hunting with my friend Rob, who's he's a great knife maker as well. That's how me and him started hanging out. And because we had two rifles, but we had four hunters. So we had to work out like, all right, you're going to have one guy on the rifle, one guy as like a spotter, so to speak, and then we'd swap it around. And me and Rob had been hunting this one sort of section of this mountain range, and the other boys was hunting this other area. And we started working out like, we think we know where the animals are, but we've been coming at it from the wrong angle, and the animals were always spotting us before we got there. So this morning we ended up, rather than going up, I guess what you'd call the easy way, we took the really hard way and walked around the bottom of this mountain range and tried to pop up below them. And as we were coming along, we noticed all the tussock had been like chewed real flat, and we could smell the animals, so we knew they were around. It was just a matter of sort of finding them again. And as we looked up, there was this they call them guts or slips or something like that. It's like these rock slips, and we just noticed it in it. There was a tar standing in it, and it was only about 100 meters away. My friend Rob, we can confirm, yep, it's a bull, but he was like making his way down this thing, and they can cover, by the time you lift your rifle and get on your stomach, they've probably gone 150 meters. Like
Wow.
they just cover ground like it's nothing. And so he got set up on that, and I was on the camera and I was filming and confirming the animal, and we just had to wait, and the animal popped up and was standing looking around on us because it had got our wind, and then Rob put one into it. We were using a 243, and it whacked it pretty hard, and we thought it just dropped on the spot. So we're like, yep, that's done. But by the time we actually started having to get down there, we realized that what we thought was like a flat alpine meadow was actually just, it was like bundles of this mountain tussock, and then there'd be like a 4 foot vertical like cavity, and then it'd be like a 2 foot gap, and then there'd be another tussock, and then there'd be another cavity behind it. So you was like hopping from like these tussock patches, and if you fell into any one, you'd go like chest deep in between it. It was really arduous trying to look around, and probably yourself, you see an animal go down from, it was only like, it ended up being about 230 meters or 220 meters, so it wasn't that far away. But by the time you get down there and you're like, where
Where?
was it? Like, yeah, we're like, yeah, there was a bush and a bit of grass. And we're like, there's bush and grass everywhere. Like, everything looks exactly the same. That ended up being a couple of hours sort of hunting, because they can fall down these crevasses and they can just disappear as well. So some of those crevasses can actually be quite deep. So yeah, it was just more, and they don't leave like blood trail as well when they're in that sort of area. So you just have to find the actual animal, which is a bit,
Very hairy, right? They have a lot of hair.
yeah, that's right. Huge,
So,
just big bushy thing.
so it's gonna be hard to get a blood trial of that anyways. Probably, I can imagine just soaking up the blood.
That's right. And I'm sure if there's anyone from New Zealand listening, they'll probably tell me I'm wrong. But it being our first experience, we was out of our depth as well, because we're used to shooting deer and everything over here. And yeah, you get deer sometimes that don't bleed, but majority of the time, if they've got a good hole in them, you're finding blood, at least somewhere to start from. So luckily I'd filmed it, and we had to keep just watching the footage over and over again. And we got a
Mm-hmm.
rough idea of where it was. But the problem was, every time we've got closer and closer, we were getting further and further to the edge of this big plateau that we were on. And it got to a point where we were like on the edge, and we'd identified, we're like, no, it's here. It's going to be here. And while we were doing that, my mate Rob, he was staying lookout for me, because I guess you don't want to be too close together in case you both fall off the mountain. You want one of your buddies to be able to call a helicopter to come, try to retrieve your body once you've fallen off the edge, I guess you'd say. And while we were up there, we were pretty much ready to give up. I think it'd taken about 3 or 4 hours of looking, and we're just like, this is gone. We're never going to find this animal. And we saw another mob of bull tar, and they were just jumping down this cliff. So we got up and started filming those. And then just by chance, as I put my camera down, I looked down to my left, and I'm like, that tussock looks a bit weird. And I'm trying to call my mate over. I'm like, Rob, come down here. And he's just like, no, you're on your own. He's a big guy. He's 110 kilos, he's a big mountain man. And he's saying to me, no, you're a nimble little guy. Like, you go down there and you do it. And so I had to climb down this section down to the lower plateau below us, and tucked up underneath the tussock. That's where the tar ended up. Yeah, we're able to recover it, butchered it all out, literally on the edge of the mountain. Like, there was, from that plateau where it landed on, it was just a vertical drop, like hundreds of meters down to one of the glacial valleys below us. So we sat there perched pretty precariously and butchered it all out, skunned it all out. So yeah, that was a pretty cool experience.
That is awesome, man. That is cool. You have me excited to go down there, and I want to do tar really bad. Now I feel like I want to go to Australia more than I want to go to New Zealand. You have 6 different kinds of deer, and I love ungulates. So I want to hunt high alpine. I didn't realize, in my mind, I just imagine like red sand and low desert, and you're telling me about high alpine above tree line hunting,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to go do this now. So that is definitely high on my list, because I obviously love glassing, right? It's one of my thing.
yeah.
Um, Man, that's awesome. Yeah, dude, that's a great podcast. Tell me a little bit. You guys are so much Maven down there. You loving Maven?
Yeah. That's how I've come to work. I work for the Modern Hunter, the general manager for them. Like you're saying, we distribute Maven and your gear, the Tricer stuff. But I bought my first set of Mavens about 7 years ago. I'd been
Okay.
using some old loopholes. They weren't even loopholes. I think they'll call it Wind River or something like that. I
Or
didn't even like it.
Redfield, maybe Redfield.
I can't remember. I bought them when I was probably 18 years old, And I was coming up and I think I'd probably just turned 30 or 35 or something like that. And I was just like, it's time for me to upgrade. I need some good glass. And I'd been looking and I'd
Mm.
always looked at Swaros and all the European glass and stuff. And yeah, I was nearly ready to pull the trigger on a pair of Swarovskis, and a buddy of mine was like, have you seen these Maven binoculars? I was like, no.
Mm.
I started checking them out. And yeah, so then I bought my first set and I was blown away. And now I've got rifle scopes, binoculars, rangefinders, and then I've been buying everything through Josh. And it got to a point where he's just like, man, like, you're buying that much gear through me, and you're so into it. And he's like, why don't you come work for me? So that's how that sort of came to fruition. And yeah, so it's been a great product. We love it. I just love when we have take it to an expo and people pick these things up and they hear the price point they come in at, and they're comparing them to like your Leicas and your Swarovskis, and just seeing how blown away people are by the performance of them. It's such a cool product. The guys have really done an absolutely amazing job with all the Maven gear.
Yeah, Mike and Craig are awesome to work with. Like I said, they're selling a ton of tripods. It's awesome for us.
Yep.
And they make some great gear. I've got some of their stuff. My partners have some of their stuff. I need to get one of their rifle scopes. I literally just bought a Leopold. Man, I should have bought a Maven. I should have called Mike up and got a Maven for this gun. And I don't know why. I didn't even think about it until it was done.
Yeah,
I
man.
think I was in this Jack O'Connor kick with this whole wooden stock thing, and I was like, Jack O'Connor had a Leopold on his number 270, and I'm like, I want to do a Leopold. And I went from 270 to 30-6. So I don't know. I mean, I should have put the Maven on that thing. And
what magnification range did you go with the VX5?
3 to 15.
Okay, yeah,
3 to
cool.
15. Yeah, I'm a low power guy. I want the lowest low power. Like I like the VX3. I think I have like there's 2 or 3 of those as well. One of them is like I think a 3 to 10 on my kid's gun. It's really nice. And then I have a couple of those 4.5 to 14s, the VX3s, but the VX5 has the 3 to 15 range. And I like having that low range to high range. And honestly, you never want to get caught with your gun on 10 power. You want it to be a low power, and then you can adjust up if you have to. But so I mean, these guys that are out there running these 6 to 24s, I don't understand it. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. That's not my thing. So maybe I'm not knocking you. Maybe you're doing that. I'm not sure, but
I'm a bit like you. I've got the low power. So the Maven, they had the RS1, which is the 2.5 to 15, which is the first focal plane, and they've just done the 1.2. So they've done the same thing, but with an illuminated reticle in it. And that's what originally what I wanted to put on my 300 Win Mag, but I ended up going with the RS5, which is a big one. It's a 4 to 24 by 50. But the thing I noticed on the field of view on that thing on 4 power, like I've shot deer 8 meters on that. I'll use it as a bush rifle. The low end of 4 is the field of view on that thing is so incredible. I can use it as a bush stalking gun. But
it's a 50 mil because it's a 50.
That's right. Yeah, I love the 50 mil. A lot of the deer hunting we do here, it's always like winter and dark, and you don't really have those big bright days. So you want big objectives just for more light transmission. But that new RS 1.2, the 2.5 to 15, that thing's sweet piece of gear. So
maybe I should have did that instead. I don't know. I just have them on all my guns, and I bought it, and then I was talking to Maven this week, and I was like, man, I don't know why I didn't get to pick up a Maven and try it out, because everyone loves them. Cody Rich just swears by them. My buddy Jake. I mean, there's a lot of guys running them. My buddy Pat runs them. He runs a lot of them run all their glass. I said I'm running their spotting scope. I really like their spotting scope, the S1.
Yeah,
it's great. They make phenomenal gear. Maven makes phenomenal optics, and they have it at a price point because they're selling direct to consumer that is reasonable. It's not necessarily cheap, but it's reasonable for. They have lower end price point stuff, but like for their high end, like I think it's like their S1, right? The R1, like you're saying, you can get into that spotter for $2,000. It's $1,000 less than you're paying for another optic.
Yeah.
You know, we outfitted B1.
We outfitted a guy that had a trip of a lifetime. I think he was going to like one of the stands, Kazakhstan or something, one of those I think he was doing sheep, but it was like hunt of a lifetime for this guy. He was looking at all the Leica stuff, which awesome gear. And we were doing a hunting expo. He saw our spot and he's like, how much is this? And we showed him was that S series. And he went back to the Leica stand, came back. And next thing he bought binoculars, rangefinder, spotting scope. And he said, I'm walking away with brand new optic system, and it's cost me less than the Leica. Or I'm trying to work it. It was turning up between. End of the day, he bought our whole glassing system, and it cost him less than the spotting scope that he was going to buy. from the European
Yeah,
thing.
and it's great gear, man. Like I said, I have that spotter and I run it a lot and use it a lot, and it's just crisp and clean. And they're just doing it by having a direct to consumer. You cannot buy it anywhere but through Maven or through Modern Hunter in Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's the thing. Like we do get a couple of people saying that they're like, but you direct to consumer, we have it here. Like that's the deal we have with Maven. Like I think so. We become their sort of go-to guys. We can display because a lot of people they don't want to buy it because everyone wants to look through it. But you can tell anyone, oh, it's clear. But until someone actually looks through the optic, that's what sells it. We get guys messaging us all the time, like, oh, but how good are they? How clear are they? Field of view. And they come meet us at an expo or a demo day or something. They look at them and they're just like, yeah, man, take the money. What else you got? They want to buy some more.
yeah, 100%. And I don't know anybody who's complained about it. Like people just like the glass. Like I don't know anybody who's I don't like it. It's just people love Maven. It's a great product. And those guys are just doing great and they're selling a ton of stuff. They come out with some new stuff. I don't know. They have a new smaller spotter coming out, which is awesome. I don't know if you could
Yeah.
probably speak to that name of that thing, but they're
Yeah. I
doing
think
some
that
awesome
you can,
stuff.
yeah, you can, I think they're doing a detachable eye cup because obviously yourself with the big spotters, they can take up a lot of real estate in the backpack. So I
Mm,
think with the new angled spotter, you can take the eye cup off and then it stores like a straight spotter.
really?
Mm.
That's kind
So
of
if
slick.
yeah, so if you're a bit hard up on like pack space, or if you've got those like smaller side pouches, you can actually just have your
Mhm.
spotter once again living in there because that is the one downfall, the angled. And I know some guys end up choosing straight spotter because they just want it to sit in that like pouch on the side of the pack or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big spotter guy. Like I love 15s, but then I went to I have the BTXs now sitting next to me. I'm running the BTXs now, so now I'm definitely a spotter guy. I guess it's giant,
Yeah,
but
thing's
I'm
massive.
running
Yeah.
straight. So I have the Angle S1 and I have a straight Kawa
Hmm.
554 that I'm playing with. I really like that glass. And I got that new Vortex. I want to try it. Everyone's talking about the new straight Vortex. And I went straight just because they're easier to pack, right? It just fits in there. It's easier. And you'll never find me glassing with a spotter. Like I glass with a binoculars. If I find the animal, then I'll grab a spotter out and look for it. Or if I see something like it might be an animal, I'll throw a spotter up and look through it. Just not my. I want to have both eyes. That's why I love the BTX. Looking through that thing with both
Yeah.
eyes is nice.
Do you have a lot of guys like over there with your glassing and stuff, like, especially say for elk, for instance? Do a lot of guys use like those 15 by 56 or 18 by 56? Is that a popular
Oh,
thing?
dude, I 15 by 56 is the binocular that won the West.
Yeah.
If you're an Arizona guy, or I'd even say SoCal, because all my SoCal guys, we all run this 15 by 56s.
Okay.
Or a lot of guys are going to the Maven has the 18s, right, and the 15s.
Yeah, that's
A
what
lot of guys
I'm
are running
starting to
those.
look into. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, like the 15s are just money. You do
Okay.
18s because you have Maven. They're just money, man.
Yeah.
I don't even. I never use. You don't need a spotter anymore. It's just
Yeah.
you run
Okay.
that and you can sit and you can have an enjoyable. For me, like glassing needs to be enjoyable, and
Hmm.
glassing with one eye through a spotter is not enjoyable.
Yep.
But glassing with 15s is enjoyable. Now the kicker is they're heavy. I think they're almost 2.5 pounds. So they're heavier than these spotters. These new spotters are coming out really light. But man, you could sit behind. I sit behind my 15s for 10, 12 hours a day. Sometimes
Yeah.
and
So
just sit
that,
there and look for deer.
yeah. And that's become pretty popular with everyone over there in the States, has it? Like just
Oh,
using
not
the,
even. It's been popular forever.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah, forever. The 15s, they changed glassing. It's yeah,
Mm.
the Kuzgear guys and those 15s are just they're the way to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I'm
you
sort of
won't
looking
regret
at,
it.
yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing now, going to a pair of 15 by 56 or 18 by 56 myself to add to the lineup. And same thing, like I actually enjoy sitting behind a camera, like a
Mm-hmm.
big ultra zoom camera, because I can just watch it all. And then if you see something cool, you start recording it. But I just find using the spot is great once you've identified the animal and you can actually get right up and close with it. But
Mm-hmm.
for majority of the glassing, I'm with you, like two eyes behind it, you know, and you can just glass all day.
Yeah, you're gonna find so many animals with those 18s. You're never gonna go back. You're
Yeah.
gonna be like, holy smokes! Like I run eights on my chest,
Hmm.
and if I'm elk hunting, I'll put those on a tripod, look through them. I'll put the tripod a little bit, but man, like I'm almost exclusively with my 15s on my tripod.
Yeah. Okay.
15s on the tripod, or now the BTX. Right, like we have the new JC coming out and the new BP. It's just built for the BTX, and
Yep.
I've been running that thing a ton. I have probably 30 days behind this setup right here to my right this year.
Yep.
But yeah, man, the 15s, you can't beat them. If you were like, you get one binocular to use, it'd be the 15s. I would
Yeah.
use
All
the
right. Cool.
15s, and that's
Yep.
it. And I wouldn't even take chest binoculars. I'd use the 15s and sit behind a tripod and find animals because really you don't find a ton of stuff offhand anyways. So I would just it's just
Yeah, well, I
they're
guess
awesome.
that's where it's different. Like in Victoria, like I use 10 by 42s. 10 by 42s and 8 by 42s are very common, but that's just
Hmm.
generally because the bush stalking we do is quite thick. So even if you're only looking 100 meters or 80 meters, you're using especially the sambar deer, because they're a dark brown, so they look like every bit of bush we have. But you're generally just using the binoculars to determine the difference between like bush and deer, because they'll hide in this scrubby bush that we have a lot of the time. So the chest bino is you're just using it to constantly scan and like to look through the bushes rather than actually like finding it. You don't really
Yeah,
find animals out in the open. You're identifying like an ear flicking like between the tail of a bird, but to the ear of a deer sort of thing. So that's what a lot of us use our chest binoculars for.
yeah, 100%. Same thing. I'm hiking around. I'm taking them out, looking down. Hey, it looks deery. It's looking there. Hey, I see something's moving. Look down in that canyon. You pick a lot of stuff up with them, and I like to run eights on my chest. I like to have. I run a range finding bino. I just like to have a range finder in there.
Mhm.
Um, so awesome, dude. That was a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah.
Let's do
Well,
it again. I'm coming to Australia, so
maybe we
just
can do the next one in Australia. We'll do it over a cold beer.
I'll do it down there with you. I'm like I know I'm going back to Sonora. I already booked that. I got a ranch going next year. I have a really cool crew of guys going. I don't want to announce who's going yet, but I've got a super cool crew of guys going to Sonora with me next year.
What do
I
you target
might
when
go
you
to
go down there?
Coos Deer.
Coos
Well, you
deer.
could do mule deer as well, but I love Coos Deer,
Yep.
and we've got our own mountain ranch. It's just going to be so we're gonna have a blast. I have a really cool group of guys going from the industry and just friends, father-in-laws, dads. It's just going to be just like a fun camp, big glassing country, and we're going to be chasing the ghost in the rut in Mexico. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
I really want to go hunt axis deer in Hawaii. So I'm looking at doing that with another guy in the industry. But now I'm like, man, I just want to go to Australia. And you guys are opposite. So you guys are wintertime opposite of us. So you guys are hunting. So
Yeah,
when is
that's
your
right.
winter, right? So your winter's during my summer. It's like when I can't hunt. So if I come down there in like June,
Oh, you don't even have to hunt in winter. Like at the moment, like we're just coming out of our summer. Like we've had been a bit of a weird summer here, but we're seeing like there's been some absolute crack at like deer shot already.
oh man.
Yeah, because the
And
thing is, like down here, our deer, speaking mainly on the fallow, have more of a sort of definite like season, like when the stags have antlers or bucks have antlers, and when they rut and stuff like that. But the sambar deer, they at any time. So you might see a full antlered, polished out stag, and beside him is a stag that's in soft velvet. It's only got soft nuts. So they can be. You can shoot it if you're after like a trophy animal. You could shoot an antlered stag at any time of the year.
really,
Mm.
and I keep trying to get you out of here in an hour. I told you to get out in an hour, but now I'm just like, so what about bringing a rifle down? Do I use one of your rifles, or is it hard to bring a rifle? Can I bring a rifle in, or how does that
Um,
work?
Coming from America, geez, I don't know. I know a couple of guys that have had mates come over from the States and stuff like that. And I think the easiest way is to use a locals rifle and just
Yeah,
apply for, yeah. And once again, that's where having the contacts and that's where social media and stuff like that's great, where people can get in touch with people and like swap a hunt for a hunt and whatever. But if you were keen to come down, you'd say, yeah, sweet, no worries. We'll just get your game license permits all done, work out whatever thing. And I could just give you a rifle and we just go get into it.
I'm 30-06 only this year, and you have a 30-06.
I could grab whatever you want. The 300 Win Mag does it. I love the 300 Win Mag because it'll just sort out anything, from
Just
any
kill anything
range.
kill
Yeah,
anything you point at it. It's bad medicine for anything.
that's right. But that's just a Tikka. We got it.
T3X.
Yeah, T3X, but it's the feather light, so fluted barrel. It's super light. So
Oh yeah, my
yeah,
father-in-law has that. I'm left-handed, so I get so screwed on my rifles. I just trying to get a rifle that works is it's almost impossible, especially in wood. Apparently, no one makes wood rifles anymore, especially left-handed. But yeah, I had a Tikka forever. I 260. I killed all kinds of stuff with it, but it was left-handed. But they don't offer the fluted one for lefties. We just get the
yeah,
basic
yeah,
T3X.
yeah. No, that's
But
fair
yeah,
enough. But yeah, no, man. Anytime you want it, just hit me up. It's the offers available anytime you want to come down.
that'd be fun, man. We'll have to get you over here and go hunt with us and go chase some
Oh
deer.
man, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy.
Go to
Yeah,
an elk. Go to an elk hunt.
yeah, hunting elks on that's a bucket list hunt. So New Zealand was one. I want to get back to New Zealand and do the red stags and the raw. So hopefully probably try to plan that for next year, I believe. That's another bucket list. But yeah, doing elk, even to come over with a cameraman, I'd just love to just get out
So
there and get a
you
few.
don't have any points over here, right?
I don't understand how you're. That's the thing. It's so
Okay,
weird
so
because a
I
foreigner.
guess what we need to get you to do then is you should just be you have to. So you can come over. We can do over the counter Colorado. It's gonna be hard for you to get over the counter tag for elk. You have to have points to go to do the whole system, the draw system.
Mhm.
We can do over the counter in Colorado. I'm sure we can get you over the counter in, I think, Montana. Idaho, we can get you a tag. You definitely can. You definitely could get a tag in Idaho. We can
Mhm.
get you a tag up there for sure, like in the Frank, or get you like that would be really cool. Get you like a Frank Church tag.
Yep.
Um, and then you can put in for New Mexico as well because there's no points there. So you can put in for that, and if you draw, and you got to come over and do it. But
Yep.
yeah, I think if I were you and I wanted to have a good hunt, I think Idaho's the way I would go.
Idaho.
Idaho's the
Yeah.
way I would go. 100%. I'm like thinking about it right now. You're not going to need points. You'd be able to do the draw system the same way we do it. You probably have to wake up. You're so opposite of us. You'd have to do it. You'd be like midnight there or something because it's 8 in the morning here. Because
Mhm.
we're opposite. You're 8 a.m. there right now, and I'm 4
What have we
p.m.
got at the
here. 5
moment?
p.m.
It's nearly midday here. Yeah. So it's
Oh,
nearly.
it's
It's
midday.
nearly.
Okay, so yeah, so I don't know what it would be. You'd be late, but it's
Yeah. It'd be
worth
like.
it. You'd have to be late, but you should do. I think Idaho's the way you should go, and we can get you an Idaho tag and get you over here
Yeah.
to go hunt.
Not going to piss off
And,
any locals having some foreigner turning up.
oh no, screw them. Just screw them.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard some places get pretty get their back up, don't they? With like out guys coming from out of state, out of country, rocking up and buying
Yeah,
picking out a
everyone's,
tag.
especially if you're from California. I'm from California. Everyone hates us. We just
Oh,
screw
okay.
everything up for everybody. We're just nobody
Yeah,
likes Californians, and plus we're moving. We're all moving to their states, and they move. People move from our state, and they vote the same way they voted here, and
yeah. I've heard
screw
about
their house.
that.
We're
Yeah,
driving. We're driving. No, in California, I live in a house that cost me $500,000 10 years ago, and it's worth $1 million now, and it's 80 years old.
yeah. Wow.
It's
Yeah,
it's a pile. It's not even a nice house. It's just California. Everything's so expensive. So I can leave here and go buy a giant house on a piece of property in Montana or Idaho for sell my house for $1 million and buy a house for 400,000. People are doing it all day long. The problem is that house is only worth 200,000, and we're screwing everybody over and raising the rates of everybody up there.
yeah, yeah. Fair
That's a
enough.
whole other conversation. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry, out of staters from California. Write me a DM me about how much I suck.
yeah.
Like,
You
you'd
would
have
have
no
done a couple
problem.
of
I've
nicknames.
never had issues with people out of state. Like I enjoy going out of state. I think as long as you're not a freaking asshole, people are going to treat you good.
Yeah. Do you guys
Like,
like encounter many other people like when you go hunting? Like, do you
oh
bump into
yeah,
other? Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, you do for sure. That's why I'm saying if you want to do like, it's how I wouldn't want to do like over the counter Colorado. We call it like the Orange Army. You're going to see so many people.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, if we did Idaho, especially if we did like a Frank hunt, we could fly in. That would be
Yeah. Is
bitching.
that is and
Yeah.
is that for elk? Is it?
Elk, yeah. Well, you be able to do elk and deer for the same unit. You will get two tags at the same time.
Yeah. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, if you get in there and do it, yeah. We could
Yeah.
bug the
No, for
Limitless
sure.
guys, see if we can't do what we should do. You should do that. Trade off with those guys, man. The guys at Limitless, they hunt up there a lot one
Yep.
day. I'm sure they want to go to Australia and go hunting. So,
Yeah,
but
the only hard thing is the deer species we have down here, like mainly, like I just love targeting sambar, but they were brought in over from India, so like their natural predator is the tiger. So like they're called the grey ghost over here, like because they're just
that's what we
like
call Coos deer. We call them the Gray Ghost.
you get
That's right.
guys over here that have been like in their early career, like some of them go, oh, it's a bit different now because the deer population's become bigger. But like when I first started hunting them, it used to be an achievement just to see a deer. Like you could go, there's guys that have gone years that haven't shot one, and there's some guys that I took a guy out one time who'd been hunting for about 3 or 4 years, and like I spotted a deer, and I'm like, oh, glass a deer up, and his eyes lit up. He's like, where? I was like, it's just over there. Like he got the binoculars on it, and he nearly wet his pants. Like I'm like, are you okay? And he goes, I've never seen one in the bush. So
Really?
this guy's been going out for 4 years and had never laid eyes on one. But granted, this was years ago, and the population has become bigger. But they're definitely like I've hunted for a long time, and I can have trips sometimes. You go out 5, 6 times and don't see a deer.
Really?
Yeah, they can be really tricky to nail down because they just move constantly. So you might have a little honey hole, and you just go there, and sometimes they're just not there, or you just can't get eyes on them because they've just the wind's slightly wrong or whatever. They'll just bug out straight away. They just do not want to be around.
Again, it makes me excited. I love glassing and finding them. Now you call them the Gray Ghost, and my favorite deer is the Gray Ghost over here. We got
Yeah,
to do But
Yeah,
all right,
man, for sure.
let's wrap this thing up, man. Let's
For sure.
do it again. I'm coming to Australia. You're coming here. We're gonna go to Idaho and hunt together. We're gonna piss off a bunch of Idaho guys because just bringing a
Hopefully
foreigner.
not. Yeah, hopefully
Who's this
not.
foreigner? So, thanks, bro. Let's do it again.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on.